Hey Caitlin, alright, so here is your past life spread. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at where you are, what you did for the majority of your time, an important day with the relationships and feelings involved, another important day, the death, and lesson learned, and we'll get hints of time throughout, okay? So all I'm going to do is relay to you the images and impressions that are coming through, and your job is going to be to try to make connections where you can based off of what comes through here in your current life, and I'll try to help however I can, okay? So let's start here. This is where we're going, and it's Africa. And so that's a pretty, broad, big place. So what it feels like is it feels like we are going somewhere in Africa where they have a top university. It feels like we're looking at one of the larger or one of the largest cities in Africa. And I know that it makes it even, that's not even like a lot of detail, but I do want to say this place is, I feel like it would still be there today, or even if it's not used today, it feels like it's something that it feels like a university that utilizes very old buildings. Possibly like even like where there's what we would consider ancient buildings on site. I mean, this might be somewhere in Egypt, because it feels like there is a lot of like there's just it's very populated, and it's the civilization is, it feels like it's old and it's built up. I feel like we're going to a place where this is not where you were born, or it's not, if you're born there, it's not where your heritage is. So it feels like almost like it feels like they're putting me with your parents, and you and your parents moving to this place. It feels like your father is a professor of some sort of high regard. It feels like your mother is from a good, wealthy family kind of thing. And it feels like you moved there from somewhere like London, or it feels if anything, it feels more like London. It feels like an established place. There's something about tradition. There's something about like your heritage. Like it's something about like something like Royal British. It feels like they're bringing through your father a lot for this. So there's a big like fatherly influence on you in this life. And it has to do with leaving like a legacy, bestowing a legacy upon you, making sure you carry on the family name. Even though it's like today we might think of a professor as, just like, not so esteemed, but it feels like we're looking at a very esteemed professor, like someone who was invited to come down. And this is somebody, it's like you have a lot of wealthy, like family money, maybe even, I'm trying to see it just feels like what he teaches and what he knows is very topical of the times. It's very current with the times. It's like, he's very, what's it called? When somebody's wanted a lot is what it feels like. So basically, in a nutshell, it's coming through like that, for you to make certain connections in certain ways. So one, did you find that you could have been born in this life to a family where they're overprotective, smothering, controlling? You could have chosen that family based on the family that it's like what's coming through here is a family that is not very affectionate but very controlling. And so you could have chosen to come back into this life to actually feel be with a family that nurtures you and shows affection in that way, or is cold and controlling. So either way, there's going to be some kind of relationship you can make with your family based on this card, because there are direct connections and opposite connections. So direct connections would be because of the life you were brought up here. It's like there wasn't, it felt again very British in the way where it's like very like not affectionate. There's love, but not like, ooey gooey love kind of thing, like huggy love kind of thing. So the direct connection would be that you would come back in this life and experience something similar that you would have to continue learning. Almost like learning it could be a lesson in here on like stand strong, independent, to make yourself feel good, to not need permission from others in order to do what you want to do, to not feel like you need the love of others to feel complete and whole. That kind of lesson can be learned. And if you feel like you're going through that kind of lesson in this life, then that would just, it'd be continuing from here. On the opposite connection you could be making is because you picked that family here, you could have come back to experience, again, nurture, affection, cozy, lovey-dovey family stuff. In the same vein, because it feels like you were very tied to the family and to the family lineage, but also to the family business in a way, there's a lot of control aspect here, where in your current life you could be someone that's like, I am not going to do what's expected of me, I'm not going to follow what you want me to follow, I'm going to find my own way, my own kind of do my own thing. So if you've experienced that, again, it could be a connection with that in the opposite way. As well, if you've been pulled towards Egypt, what's coming through as far as the time period, what they do is they filter through things that I can connect with to help me, and then sometimes it's like, a lot of times, it's like clips from movies. So it's like The Mummy, that movie, The Mummy, with Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz. And it's like that, it feels like that time period, and I don't know when that was, maybe the 20s or 20s-ish, I don't know, but that's the time frame they're giving me as far as like what the technology level was at and how they dressed and things like that. So we are also looking at someone who is stuck in a certain period of time where it is proper and right to follow tradition in certain ways when it comes to the family. So this card would bring up, family issues, or family, how you're dealing with your family. But again, like I said, connections to Egypt or that time period, if you like the 1920s or whatever, even it could have been a little bit before that, or maybe even a little after, but like 1920s, if that kind of dress attire or culture appeals to you in any way, artwork, whatever from that time, if it triggers you or you see photos of it and you're always pulled towards that kind of thing, whether it's fashion or style, whatever it is, that would be a connection as well. And if you're not sure, then go ahead and look, like go and Google 1920s, even like actually go ahead and Google university in Egypt where it was possibly common, where I feel like wealthy British people would come to learn or live for some time, or I feel like there's a university there, if you can Google that. I feel like, and that they utilize very much older buildings, or there's like this very old library involved. I don't know what it is, but it feels like it's of the land, like it's so old that it's just like people think of it synonymously with the land. There is a lot of visuals coming up regarding the desert landscape, the beauty of it. If you're someone that finds beauty in a desert landscape, that's just another thing to consider, like some people prefer forests, some prefer the ocean. You might be someone that sees a beautiful stark desert landscape and it may pull at you in some way or evoke some kind of emotion. Or if you've ever been pulled to visit Egypt or visit the Middle East, or even the ancient architecture, or if you're someone that likes ancient like ruins, the idea of visiting ancient ruins or ancient if you've ever seen the show Ancient Aliens, and I mean, I know that's kind of mainstream or whatever, but like that kind of fun, cool, mysterious stuff might be very intriguing to you. And if it is, I feel like we're looking at someone who was intrigued by that as well, even though it might not have been encouraged for this person to study it, because it, like today, how people are like, oh, woo-woo stuff, it was kind of like that for somebody who was going to be a businessman and lived a certain lifestyle with a certain family lineage, blah blah blah, that kind of thing. So you actually might have issues with authority figures and people who you might be triggered by people who are kind of into the whole like higher class, lower class, hierarchy, elitism, I have a better car, like that kind of thing, like, look what I've done, look what I've achieved. Ego people, like, people with ego might trigger you. You might just be completely triggered or turned off by people who are egotistical. In that way too, you might find that it's interesting because it's almost like you are one of them as well, is what it feels like. Even though there were parts of you that wanted to explore out of that, it was almost like you weren't allowed to expand your feelings in that way, just based off of being a product of your generation and of your culture. So in your current life, you could have been born in this life to experience getting away from normal mainstream things in order to finally dive into the mystique and mysteriousness of being human, and the energy and all that stuff that this person was not allowed to explore, basically. So you might find that you have a bit of an explorer's or adventurer's or explorer's heart. You might be someone that likes the idea of journeying across the country or backpacking through, the Europe or whatever it is. That kind of journeyman hero's journey kind of thing might appeal to you. This person did enjoy the travel aspect, but there's also, let's just move on to the next card so we can get to it. And plus, this is a male, so if you find that in your life you've had what we consider masculine energy or a nice balance between masculine and feminine, that would make a lot of sense. This man had masculine energy to the point he felt like a like what we'd consider, I guess, an alpha male in that respect, but also because he had to be. It's what was expected of him. So you might find that you're very sure of yourself in certain ways, or you're aware that you are capable of getting things done. Maybe really good at multitasking. Maybe you're really good at business, or in the sense of being like business organized, where you're able to see things from different angles, see the big picture in a lot of ways. You might be very good at that, and that can come in a lot of handy. Come in handy a lot. So this card, what you do the majority of your time, this is called the Take Care of Me card. A lot of times we see this when somebody is ill or bedridden or something like that, but once in a while, like this, for this reading, what it feels like is somebody who is privileged. So we're looking at a life here of a very privileged person. Take care of me. That is your family. Your family and your family's money and lineage takes care of you. So you don't really ever have to worry about anything. Like, you're going to get into whatever school you want. You're going to have everything you need, all the comforts of this time are at your disposal. Plus, there are hobbies here. Very distinctly, this person liked flying the airplanes at the time. So we're looking way back. We're looking at where planes are like just starting. So there's something about planes and being in the air that really came through here for some reason. It could be hot air balloons as well. It just feels like any vehicle or device that gets you off the ground and in the air. This person felt like it was the greatest adrenaline rush was to be in the air. So you in your current life, if you enjoy flying or roller coasters, or it's not really about the speed, it's more about being up high, even if it's on a mountain top, a mountain's ledge, or if you go to somewhere where you can see off the ledge, like you maybe you're someone that really not just doesn't mind heights, but enjoys heights. On the opposite hand, you could be someone who fears heights because this person loved them so much that you would come in with an opposite reaction in order to experience what it's like to not like heights versus this person. So make connections where you can. Even if it's just looking at a hot air balloon, if you're someone that sees a hot air balloon or a picture of one and it sparks something in you, planes, or are you aware of, like, you're just always able to spot them and know which, know which one it is. I don't know. It could be as random as that, but keep that in mind. So what else comes through? Take care of me card, right? So you might have chosen to come back into this life where you have to work very hard for yourself. You have to work to make things happen. You might not see a lot of things happen because this person was given everything. So you're like, okay, I've lived this life where it was great and wonderful and I was given everything. I didn't have to work, more or less work, I didn't have to sweat, basically, and I was taken care of. So it could be you came back into this life to experience a life that's just a little bit harder, not necessarily poverty, but it can be seen as poverty, but where you're just meant to put a little brow sweat into seeing your success versus your success just kind of already being there, working for your success, working for your name, working for your reputation. It doesn't mean that you're not going to make it. It doesn't mean you're not going to see success, but it does mean that it just might come a different way. And I'll tell you what, it feels like as soon as you can learn in some way by shifting your perspective to really enjoy and find pleasure in the journey of getting to the fruition of your success, then it will come even quicker and more efficiently and more often that you'll start feeling more success. Again, it's about the journey, not the destination kind of thing. Truly it is in this way, and it would take it's how you shift your perspective. It's a mental exercise. It's just about learning to be appreciative and find gratitude in things that you don't really even think about. And so by doing that, even in like the smallest things, like just like, oh, I'm really grateful that I'm able to take a moment to relax right now. Right? So like that little bit of extra gratitude raises your vibration. So the more you raise your vibration, the smoother things are, because you're putting yourself on your path more and more. So that's what you want to do in order to start seeing more smooth, efficient transitions into what you consider a successful life, because you are creating it. So you create that success. You can create yourself out of what you consider what you were telling me that we've put this intention on, as far as a harder life, or even like, you know, a hard relationship, whatever it is. You can create your life to come out of that and into something else, because it's all done with your creative thoughts. Whenever you've heard, or if you have heard how, you know, you create your reality with your thoughts, that's what it's talking about. And how you create it better and better, how you get better at creating what you want, is by just shifting your perspective. Truly. Because when you're able to shift your perspective more and more, easier and easier, you're able to place yourself into the higher vibration mode, which again gets you right on your path and makes things a lot smoother. It works like that. I know it sounds easier than it is, but it's also as easy as you make it. So don't complicate things for yourself, which is easy to do, especially when there's so many interesting things pulling at you. It might feel like you're spreading yourself too thin, not able to focus, but you just come back to yourself, get quiet, and start focusing one thing at a time. And if you combine almost, you know, everything with gratitude, soon again that's gonna raise your vibration. It's gonna put you right where you need to be. Keep that in mind. Now, let's go to the first important day here. This is the war card, or the battle card, and it can mean a war or a battle, not just on the outside, but like the inside. You can be internally warring with yourself, kind of thing. And then here is the soul group card. The soul group card indicates people that you go in and out of lives with all the time. And there could be many of them, but usually there's a core group that we see. And then here we're looking at the love card. So I'm trying to see what is coming through here. What it feels like is we're looking at these young men, boys, like there's a group of guys you hang with. These are your buddies. It feels very much like I'm looking at just like a group of bros. Like really, it's interesting, because I haven't seen this before, but it's almost like if there can be a fraternity there's a fraternity, and you have your best buds there, and you're all like meeting up in this lifetime on a soul level. You meant to meet here at this, like, again, it's university. It feels like there's this place where you guys kind of come together. It also feels like there's at least a couple of diverse people, at least one though, that's very diverse in this group. Let's say, because I feel like, you know, you're British, you're white. I feel like most of you are, like, let's say there's almost like, it feels like there's like 6 or 7 that kind of hang out all together, and like it feels like one of them is actually like a native to the land, and so that person is what you would consider foreign, even though you guys are the foreigners, if that makes sense, but he's part of your group. So there is some diversity in there, and that is actually important, because it's like weaving its way into your soul level, on a soul level, weaving its way into kind of your DNA of accepting others, accepting diverse friends. We're seeing like and it's an important thing too, because it goes against what you were taught, which was almost like to stay with your own kind, is what it feels like. So if you find in your current life that you are triggered by racism, segregation, that kind of thing, if that's something that bothers you so much, it's because we're looking at someone who, despite the traditional way of things, has opened up his mind and heart to someone in his close-knit group of friends that is diverse or ethnic to him, or foreign, whatever. And that was the purpose of that friend, was to help open his mind by being a friend that is not of the same skin tone. So we're looking at someone from your soul group who's coming to help you learn lessons to open your mind more and more. So you might actually know this person in your current life who you guys have met, and it's always the purpose behind your meeting together is always to open each other's minds, to help each other learn these lessons that are bigger than just you and the other person. It's about, like this, it's not just about being his friend. It's about opening your mind to accepting people as equals that you otherwise wouldn't, based on how you grew up, you see? So And they don't have to be with you your whole life either. You know, this could be someone that just comes into your life for a short amount of time or years, whatever it is, and they're there to teach you a lesson in some way again. So sometimes the lessons hurt, sometimes they're easy. This one was a friendship. It doesn't always have to be. We find people in our soul groups that we absolutely despise, and it's because they're playing their role just right, and their role is to help us learn how to cope with certain feelings like hate or disgust or spite or jealousy or whatever it is, you know? So the message that comes through this is to do your best, because it's so hard being a human and doing this as a human being, but to do your best to step away from the taking things personally and looking at a bigger picture, which you're really capable of, and to do your best to do that when it comes to anybody and everybody, because you don't want to hold on to any grudges or hold on to any resentment when really that person taught you a beautiful lesson. And don't forget that part of that lesson or that lesson could be about learning to let go of resentment, learning to not hold a grudge based on perhaps, actions or behaviors that they treated you with in the past. So that would be a message coming through that would be very useful, because when you're able to spot those lessons and learn those lessons, that is soul growth on a major level. That's enlightenment right there, when you're able to get through things like that. Learning to love, the love card, learning to love despite the pain or despite how it's so easy to take things so personally and hold on to them and even beat yourself up for it. On that level, it could be even a lesson of learning not to beat yourself up. If you blame yourself for things, learning to let it go. Learning that, okay, that was a lesson and this is not good for me anymore. Learning to feel the feelings that serve you and let go of the feelings that do not serve you. Learning to not have people still hold on to us, and even on an energetic level, simply because we can't let go of the anger associated with them, you see? So as soon as you let go and you forgive, like they say, forgiveness is not about forgiving the other person, it's about for your own resolve, your own feelings. Forgiving another person is a release of that energetic cord to another person. So that's why it's always good to do that. And it doesn't always happen overnight. In fact, it doesn't happen overnight most of the time. Keep in mind these release things, you do it every day. Like every time the thought of a person comes into your mind, that's an opportunity for you to release it. Basically, what you're doing is you're disconnecting from the emotions of the thoughts that come into your mind about that person. And when you're able to disconnect from those emotions, you're still acknowledging that that's there, but you're letting go of the emotion and just holding on to the memory and then letting the memory flow out. And that's all you need to keep doing. And you're letting your disconnect of the emotion, that is the forgiveness right there. You're forgiving them because you're not holding on to the emotion that's causing angst or anger or frustration or sadness or whatever it is. Okay? So keep that in mind. Or guilt. I do want to say or guilt, because guilt is another obstacle that needs to be let go of. So try doing that if that speaks to you. So the next important day here, and keep making connections where you can. The next important day here is, this is the welcome, they have come and conquered card. And this is the friends card. And this is joy. And actually, it's interesting because the conquered, they have come welcome card, usually it's like people coming into a land or, I don't know, just like people stumbling across other people or people coming into a new village or whatever it is to either conquer them or to be allies. But this actually feels like you're conquering a huge achievement, and it feels like we're looking at this huge transitionary period of graduating from this university. And I feel like this university is like a big deal, because I feel like it's almost like you leave it. Like there's this tie to the university, which can be as simple as you might be really fond of the idea, like you might like college towns. You might like being on a university campus. I know that sounds random and weird, but it might be something you really enjoy. Or if you look at certain universities, again in Egypt, see how they trigger you if you stumble upon some. See if you feel a connection with that. But I feel like there is something about this place where you almost like you end up staying there. Like, yeah, you go home to visit, but it feels like this is home. And it feels like this, we're looking at a day of graduation, and then also something about getting a job there. I feel like your dad is still there waiting kind of to pass the mantle on to you. And I feel like this is the day when that is all made possible. So all your goals that your family has set for you and that you have been working towards is coming to fruition right here. And you're in the friends card is you moving up and forward and graduating with this soul group. It's the same people. It feels like you're all moving up together. And it doesn't feel like all of them stay here. I feel like maybe one does, but it does feel like they go off, but there's always this connection with you guys. So if you happen to have friends that are long distance and you're good at keeping long distance or online friendships in that way, or you have friends where you knew them in childhood or you knew them at one point, and then when you see them again, it's like no time has passed. If you find that that happens to you, it can be part of this soul group of friends that you've had this lifetime with, at least one lifetime, but over and over. You're with these people a lot. I want to say too that the ethnic friend here that we talked about is probably one that you can know even today, like comes to mind as the person, a friend that you have that teaches you the most, or a friend that has had a very large impact in your life, even if you don't talk with them a lot, you know? So we do want to keep going here with the joy card, and this is a very lucky life. This is a blessed, lucky life, and it just so happens that the path that you were given by your parents and by society or whatever it is, that path has brought you a lot of joy. There's a lot of simplicity in that. There's not a lot of like back and forth, like I don't want to be here, I don't want to do this, I want to live my own life. There's not a lot of that here. But there is an adventurous soul. So again, with the flying and stuff. So there's something like that's coming through about balancing your passions with your work, making sure that you give yourself plenty of joyous discovery, exploration, research, whatever you like to do to learn things. Make sure you continue learning and doing things that really pull at you, and not to give over to pressures and stresses of like paying the bills or whatever it is in that kind of way. Even though, yeah, it's stressful, we're human, we worry about those things. The more you align with your path, the more you're going to see that flow and that income as well coming in when you're on your path. So it's just important that you do follow your excitement in that way. And I think I already recommended checking out that Bashar channeler, because he has a formula that will like really put you there. Like it's amazing. So please check that out if you haven't already. But also this joy card comes up as a message that you don't need to be told where to go. You don't need permission to do what you want to do. You already know what's right for you. You already know. You know what feels good. You know what makes you want to wake up in the morning, or you know what I mean, that kind of thing. So make sure you're not trying, like even because females too have the tendency to need permission to do things, especially if things are not like according to plan or, normal by society standards in that way. It's even more important really to follow your intuition and do the things you enjoy when it's even more like against the mainstream or against what you would expect others would want from you, because that's truly following your heart despite others. There's something I read recently that's coming to mind, I guess for a reason, but it's something, I read something like, it says, what others think of you is none of your business. And it really isn't, because when you make that your business, that's just putting all this like false worry in your mind. Like, why do you care? Like the caring about that or the giving of energy to those thoughts takes away energy and takes away space for your own creative thoughts and your own creative like growth in that way. So make sure that you're clearing your mind and making space for what's good for you and for what serves you in that way, okay? Keep making connections where you can too. So, this can also speak to having a lack of a foundation with family. Like maybe you're someone that wishes your family was like, or wishes your family had something for you to like build off of, or like maybe you wish, let's say you wish your mom had an apothecary and that she passed down the family recipe to you so you can carry on the torch kind of thing. Maybe you have little fantasies like that kind of thing, but this is just showing you've done that kind of thing before, taking up the mantle of the family lineage, the family whatever you call it, work or whatever it is, the family torch, and that you've done it already, and so you're just experiencing something different in this life because you agreed to it and you want it, because it's helping you expand and grow, and it's also helping you move towards enlightenment even faster than this easier life. Easy lives, yeah, we learn a lot and we do move, up and we ascend, all that stuff, but it doesn't happen as quickly as when you go through the hardships, as you know. So keep that in mind, that bigger picture in mind. The death card here is a natural death. Again, easy peasy. It's like you led a long life. You got married, had kids. The kids are like the family gets along. You provide for your family very well. And again, this is not a very stressful life. And it's because too, he does know how to balance things out with his hobbies and the work. With relationships, making sure he surrounds himself with people who make him feel good and who also challenge him and who are good and right for him, that kind of thing. So make sure you're surrounding yourself with your tribe, with people who bring out the best in you, who encourage you, who challenge you in a good way, who help you grow. And you can always feel who those people are. Even though nasty people help you grow, you want to at least surround yourself intentionally with people who are there to kind of like be on the same path and work towards raising your energy over time, kind of thing. Moving towards enlightenment in that way. Let's do the lesson here. So this is the experience card. And it's really lovely because this is you did gain a lot of experience here. Even though I feel like this card is more about this current life, I feel like this card is really speaking to your current experience, quite frankly, because here we do see you experience certain expansion. You have high intellect. You have graduated, so you're an educated person. You're a person of the world. You're a worldly person here. That's where the experience card comes in. But for this purpose too, I feel like it's mostly talking to your current life, to really see everything you're going through as experiences instead of hardships. I know it's really tough, and sometimes it's kind of like rolling your eyes kind of thing. Like, yeah, I know it would be easier if I saw things as experiences rather than hardships, but I'm only human. Like, I totally get it. But the language matters. The language that we give things matters. How we define things really matters, because again, we're talking about shifting your perspective. So if you're able to shift your perspective in that way, again, it's going to open up your mind in so many ways. It's going to make things so much better. Like, the world will have a different tint to it, and it's all based on how much you give in to allowing your perspective to shift in regards to what you're seeing and experiencing in life, seeing it in a totally different light. What you call hardship, change the language. Wow, this is a really interesting experience I'm going through. Try to find the lesson in it. And then again, just start. I guess this is kind of like a card telling you to take up the mantle of experience over hardship, and things will change. So the biggest thing I feel like we're getting from this message is to focus now at this time. Try to focus your mind on redefining what success means to you, redefining what work means to you, redefining what hardship means to you. Making sure you're finding the right language in your mind, not just what you speak, but like when you think of the language in your mind, your thoughts come in. When you start to think naturally using the word experience over hardship, for example, that tells you, that is the key. That's what tells you that you have shifted to a higher vibration, is when your thoughts even are starting to use a higher vibration language. That's what it is. This is a higher vibration language, experience over hardship. It's a bigger picture, higher vibration language. And I feel like they're urging you to start stepping into making that your reality. Again, your creative thoughts become your reality. So fill your reality with high vibrational language and ideas and concepts, and you'll start seeing the external world around you in a different way as well.